Hey everyone, in this video I want to give you my reaction and commentary around the market reaction to the Tesla price cuts in China. I do think that this reaction is quite odd, to be honest, and this is my reasoning why I'm saying so. So first of all, let's look how the markets performed on Friday. Tesla down, up 2.5%, green. NIO down 4.5%, Li Auto, which is not a EV company but a hybrid, minus 9%. XPeng clearly beaten up a lot, minus 15%. BYD minus 1.6%, and I'm going to talk about more about this. And then Polestar, PSNY, flat on the day. So it's surprising to me to see that mostly those US listed so-called EV startups, let's include for this purpose here Li Auto as one of them, have been seeing the largest drawdowns here. So the three, NIO, Li Auto and XPeng, here down at least 4.5% in NIO's case, and with the largest drawdown for XPeng. And at the same time, BYD, which is of course the largest EV player, I would say, from China, not trading at US exchanges, is only down minus 1.6%. And the reason why this seems odd to me is that my initial reaction was that, wow, Tesla really is taking on BYD here with that move, right? If we are taking a look at who these price cuts are addressing, it's clearly BYD here, namely with the Model Seal, which is priced around 225,000 RMB. And now the Model 3 is available from, and that's a staggering price, to be honest, almost 230,000 RMB here. So this puts the Model 3 in direct comparison with the BYD Seal, and it was a very strategic positioning move by BYD to offer something quite similar to the Model 3 but at a much lower price tag, basically undercutting them, frankly, with lower margins. And therefore they have been extremely competitive and just frankly got a lot of potential Model 3 owners simply by undercutting the prices and offering something quite similar, maybe not in the same exact league when it comes to the specs, if you would make an analysis on that. But basically, this is the closest comparison for Tesla, and they noticed and are now, with those price cuts, starting to get into the BYD territory there. So one would expect that the markets are realizing this and reflect that in the BYD stock price, which should either now face less sales because, of course, some of the owners would now resort to buying a Model 3 instead. And in fact, this is some of the first data that we get coming in from China, although this is anecdotal and shared on social media. But some of the Tesla sales staff has been asked, where are the new Model 3 orders coming from those price cuts, and they basically said, BYD, Song and Jin, so these are different models though, but clearly people that intended to buy a BYD model before are now opting to get a Tesla instead, maybe because it's getting a little bit more advanced tech or the foreign brand. Anyways, now it's kind of available to them in their price class, and now they're opting to go for the Model 3. So it's quite staggering to see that such news almost has no impact on BYD's stock price there, although they may certainly feel the impact in terms of sales, or they may actually have also to cut their prices on their own in order to lure more potential customers going back to BYD again. But as you may know, BYD has thin margins, and so at some point this might not be a feasible option to BYD. So we gotta see how well this company can actually react to such challenges there. Meanwhile, NIO, Li Auto and XPeng, as I mentioned before, are facing a huge drawdown. Actually, if you look intraday, for example, NIO stock has been down much more, recovered, I think almost 10% on the day here. So this was really felt in those EV startup players. And my suspicion is that somebody who either knew that these price cuts are going to happen, for example, somebody not long Tesla stock, was buying insurance. So basically buying, for example, put options on these US listed Chinese EV ADRs, thereby, expecting a large drawdown in Tesla stock price, which ultimately didn't happen. But in case that would have happened, this put option buyer would actually make money on the day, possibly hedging their exposure to Tesla. That's my suspicion, which makes a lot of sense from a trading perspective, or from a hedge fund perspective. And alternatively, this might also be, we had initial talk, for example, in the Tesla community, some of the YouTubers and so on, which basically started this narrative that this will put lots of pressure on the other automakers, and possibly also the retail crowd jumped on this trade and basically said, let's buy put options on the Chinese EV players. And I think this really explains why possibly BYD didn't see such a big drawdown, basically because they are not listed on US exchanges, while NIO, Li Auto and XPeng here are clearly feeling the heat. And I'm not saying that there isn't any impact on these car companies as well. Of course, let's say, for example, in the case of XPeng, and I've always said this on this channel, Tesla is coming for XPeng at some point in time, because XPeng doesn't have a lot of differentiation, and they're competing in this very low-cost segment, and Tesla is simply a different scale and different margins, and of course they will come after XPeng at some point in time. So yes, you can make the argument that XPeng will be very much impacted, and there have been, I think, a downgrade by Bank of America on XPeng, so this might explain some of the stock movement, no doubt about this. However, shouldn't we see the same drawdown in BYD? Certainly we should, right? Because that's just the same logic there. And so my conclusion here is, but I'm just speculating here, and you can differ in the comments, let me know down what you think about it, that this is due to the Chinese ADR exposure to the US market, where put options are available, while they are not for some of the other players here like BYD. Also interestingly, Polestar, which of course is also born in China in a way from the Geely brand, but it's of course at their own IPO, so not recognized as a Chinese brand, but of course they're also selling in China, and they also have models competing with Tesla. Shouldn't they also see an impact? But no, it's just flat on the day. So this shows me that somebody or some people strategically think about shorting, but maybe not by going actual short on the stock, but buying put options on these Chinese EV players and pushing pressure on there. And in the case of NIO, isn't it astounding to see that this is always happening, like when it's meeting some sort of a resistance? I've seen this in the past before, that the stock price is getting close to a resistance, that once it would break out, it would see a certain run in the stock price, but then suddenly we have such kind of a news coming out. And I think this sometimes really happened almost like a coincidence there, and I think some parts of the stock performance recently by NIO, but also maybe some of the other Chinese EV players, might be explained by such type of hedge fund trading and hedging strategies there. Now a couple more words about how this might impact NIO actually. We first of all, of course, you may have seen more news around that people in China are protesting in the stores of Tesla. So there is some sort of branding issue in the short term for Tesla that they have to deal with, because it's usually quite unpopular to have such sudden price changes in China. People feel they have been betrayed or missed out, but I think over time this will possibly play out, but yeah, it's certainly an issue there. But as I mentioned before, I really like this move by Tesla because I think it's bringing them in a more natural positioning as where I'm actually ultimately seeing them in the market, like more towards the mass market segment in this larger addressable market. And we get more of a differentiation between NIO and Tesla finally, because frankly, too many people see Tesla and NIO close by. While I think, for example, just looking at the specs here of the NIO ET5, which is one of the more closer models to the Tesla lineup, right? It's been in the past similarly priced. Now the Model 3 is much cheaper available, but you can see, for example, on the range, it's quite similar. The speed or acceleration for the ET5 is actually a little bit faster compared to the standard range. Of course, there's also the performance model. NIO has the newer setup in terms of sensors like LiDAR, the camera suite and so on, and also the higher computing power. So it's actually almost 10x the compute power with more than 1000 TOPS here that is built into this car. And then let alone the interior styling is much different. Like for Tesla, it's very simple, very sleek. That's what lots of people, especially in the West, like about it. However, Chinese user tending more towards a little bit more of a luxurious feeling, at least those who have some sort of pricing power are more affluent. And so, it's just, if you look, and I've sat in this ET5 in the Berlin NIO house before, it really is a different world, I have to say, than the Tesla Model 3 interior. Not saying either is bad or good, but you certainly get more of from the ET5. If you're inside the car, the quality build is simply different. You have the AI assist as well. You have a second display, and you have the interior lighting and feeling is much more catered towards the more luxurious need, and also from the styling you have different color options inside. So long story short, it's making no sense that these two cars are priced similarly. So my hope is that ultimately going forward, NIO can stay within this pricing and still acquire enough of customers there at this price point. That would be the ideal scenario. Maybe they also come under pressure with these price cuts and the economic downturn in China. That's certainly a possibility. However, just what I'm saying is that it doesn't make sense for me that these two models are priced similarly. And so I think this is a really positive sign here that we get more differentiation between NIO, more catering towards the competition of Mercedes, BMW and Mercedes here, and Tesla now taking on the likes of Volkswagen and BYD and such. So that's making a lot of sense to me. Not so much the market reaction to it, but let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video.